That's it. All right, let's go to Group D. France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. All right, we'll start off with France, the defending World Cup champions. We know that history is not kind to defending World Cup champions. As a matter of fact, history can be incredibly cruel after you have won the World Cup for any number of reasons. Sometimes it's a generation just was in the perfect moment and it's gotten long in the tooth and certainly isn't what it was 4 years before. Sometimes it can just be trying to recapture that magic that is sprinkled at times during a World Cup and it just doesn't happen. And sometimes it's just bad luck and the soccer gods saying, well, I'm not going to let you go through here because you messed up here. The interesting thing when it comes to France, and I back them not only to do well, but to absolutely get out of the group and buck some of that trend, is that the generation that we talked about 4 years ago has only gotten better. I don't even think 4 years ago we looked at them as quote unquote being in that prime. And so therefore, many of them, even though they've suffered some injuries here, they have replenished, they have restocked, and that generation that was young for winning a World Cup has now come to fruition and is, in some cases, definitely in their prime. I think the biggest problem or challenge will be digging down and accessing, if you will, that magic dust that enabled them to win the World Cup 4 years ago. Because it's sometimes when it's gone, it literally dissipates and melts into the ether when you get on that plane and the World Cup is over. General thoughts on France, Mosse?
It was interesting. Originally, Didier Deschamps only named 25 players, which was a bit of a head-scratcher. He has since added a 26th, Marcus Thuram, who's enjoying an excellent season with Gladbach. He's been added, so another player in that attack that includes Mbappe and Benzema, Ousmane Dembele, Nkunku, Griezmann. It really is an embarrassment of riches up there. Even Olivier Giroud, who didn't score in the last World Cup, but is right on the heels of Thierry Henry, on the verge of becoming France's all-time leading scorer, if you can believe that. So no issues up front, and no issues at the back. As a matter of fact, they called a bunch of different center backs, which screams back three. I think you're going to see some combination with Varane and Upamecano and William Saliba and Koundé. They did lose Kimpembe to injury, but nevertheless, I think you're going to see France play with a back three and wing backs, some combination of Pavard and Lucas Hernandez, Theo Hernandez back there. The one question would be, the midfield is where they took a hit because of injuries. They lost both Pogba and N'Golo Kante. There are some players in there I like. Tchouaméni, who I've talked about a lot, got off to a great start at Real Madrid. Wasn't that good the last few weeks for them. Camavinga made the squad. Fofana, Monaco player, very talented. But there's not a lot of experience in that midfield. So that's the one area where people are looking at as a potential Achilles heel in this incredibly talented squad.
All right. Let's go on to Australia, which will be their first game. There have been at times good Australia teams at the World Cup. There have never been great Australia teams. This is neither a great Australia team, and even some may argue not even a good Australia team. But they are at the World Cup. Congratulations to them. Welcome to the World Cup, and now you get to face in the first game at the World Cup the defending champions. This is an Australia team that I think potentially could lose. Well, certainly they can lose to Denmark and they can lose to France and maybe get a point against Tunisia. Anything more than that, I think, is going to be gravy. I don't think that they go on. They have players that you have heard of, whether it's Matt Ryan or Aaron Moy or Matthew Leckie. But this is not a great team, ultimately. This is also not a team from a stylistic perspective that makes you say, wow, I really want to watch them play. I know I'm not setting them up for anything but failure. And, if they prove me wrong, great. But I do not have high hopes for this Australia team.
Well, if you watch the Intercontinental Playoff against Peru, you might be familiar with Andrew Redmayne, the dancing bear goalkeeper. But yeah, no, I agree with you. They haven't gotten out of a World Cup group since 2006. You might recall that World Cup. They went out to Italy in the round of 16 in controversial fashion, that Fabio Grosso penalty decision. Italy, of course, went on to win that tournament. Since then, Australia has not made it past the group stage of a World Cup, and I think that drought continues here.
Okay. Let's go to what a lot of people are calling a dark horse. Having said that, I mean, Denmark is a incredibly well-balanced team. We saw how good they were in the last Euros. They are coming in with, I think, rightfully a lot of promise and a lot of confidence. How good ultimately do you think that this team is? And, you know, they have names, Christian Eriksen and Christensen and Højbjerg and these types of players. Mosse, when people are talking about this team as a dark horse, do you think it is justified?
I do. The names actually don't jump out in a Belgium sort of way. This is not a country that's had this incredible golden generation, but it's a collection of good, solid players that plays very well together. They reached the semifinals of the Euros. They blitzed through qualifying, did pretty well in the most recent Nations League. So, no, I think they're ready to go. Eriksen is the feel-good story of this tournament. I mean, it's just so great to see him playing in a World Cup after what happened in the last major tournament he took part in. So, yeah, I buy it. I think this is actually one of the easiest groups to pick. I'd be flabbergasted if France and Denmark aren't the two teams that come out of this. I will say, though, that order is very important because this group is crisscrossed with the Argentina group, which we both think Argentina is going to win. So whoever finishes second in this between France and Denmark, and it'll probably come down to their head-to-head game against each other, would then get Argentina in the round of 16. So that's the only thing that, you know, if we're talking about Denmark going far in the tournament, you have to factor in that if they don't win their group, they probably get Argentina in the round of 16, which, you know, would be a tough ask.
All right, shall we finish it up here with Tunisia?
Yep.
Again, this is a Tunisia team that I think is going to struggle for points. They struggle to create chances, let alone to finish chances. I think that they are going to, at times, park the bus and take whatever the game will give them. The Eagles of Carthage, as they get ready to go. Not without talent, but I just think that their inability to generate much when it comes going forward is always going to be a problem. But they're going to be compact. They're going to be hard to break down. And that's what you kind of have to do to survive when you are a team that doesn't have the individual talent or the collective confidence to be more expansive.
They are feisty. Brazil played a friendly against them in the last window in Paris, and it was a very ill-tempered affair. But yeah, they've never advanced from a World Cup group, and I don't think that's going to happen this time around.
All right. Anything else about Group D? I got France and Denmark coming out. Do you have Australia or Tunisia making a
no? Like I said,
surprise here.
Which
one do you have first, though?
I'm gonna say France figure out a way to top the group. So Denmark finish second. We get Argentina, Denmark in the round of 16.
I agree with you. Does Australia or Tunisia get any points?
They play each other, right? Yeah, they play a draw against each other.
Okay, there we go. They share the points, and there we go. So they can go home with a point. All right, we will do the rest of the groups on the following pod this week. And like I said, this is just a primer. We're not going deep into the weeds as we go along. And, you know, the best laid plans, right? For both the teams on the field and media off the field. You think this is going to happen, you see this, you see that, and then the games start and players emerge, trends emerge that you could have anticipated or you didn't anticipate. We all know that this magic Brigadoonish type of experience that is a World Cup, it glitters over everything and it can cloud all of your perceptions that you come into. So just be able to bob and weave as we go forward.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops every week. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.